What up, ladies and gentlemen? It's a Monday night. It's time for the Urban Conservative Podcast. Is liberty dead in America? Well, we're going to find out right here on the Urban Conservative. Country illegally cast a ballot. It takes the power of your vote away. Visit onlycitizens.vote to find out how you can contact your legislature and get them to pass a citizens-only voting amendment. Again, visit onlycitizens.vote and defend your right to vote. Doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
Nice call. Do you like a Tribe Called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you'd love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative Podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative.
Do you want to slap your boss and then go home and make yourself some golden brown pancakes covered in butter and freshly made warm boysenberry syrup? Then you'll love the Urban Conservative.
If you're a little over Cardi B and you're repulsed by the thought of Hogmaw, check out the Urban Conservative. You ready? If you think the earth is flat and always on that weird side of YouTube, check out the Urban Conservative. They'll set you straight.
If you're in a chasing dopey and you love solid fish and festival, check out the Urban Conservative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's a Monday night. It's time for the Urban Conservative Podcast. Yours truly, Abdul Ali, with you, with my twin brother from the same mother, no other, Raheem Architect Soto. If you haven't done so already, the website, tuconservative.com. Our mission here at the Urban Conservative is to share conservative values and principles and the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this wonderful, amazing nation of ours. You can grab a Hamilton plan. We know things are tough, but only $10. You get to join one of the fastest growing communities online with one of the best podcasts, if I might say so, on this here interwebs, bro. What's good with you on a Monday night, man?
Yo, everything is good, man. Good weekend. How was your weekend?
Hey, bro, listen, super busy running for Congress. So fantastically busy in a majorly good way. I just got to give a big shout out to everybody here in the 12th congressional district. Not just the Republicans, bro. There's a lot of unaffiliated, a lot of Democrat voters who are kind of coming on over, recognizing that this $4 a gallon gas, $3 a loaf bread, $7 a pound bacon ain't it, bro. That's not it.
Yeah. I have to give a shout out to all of the ignoramuses out there. You've made for a very entertaining weekend of scrolling through social media, reminding me. Yeah, there's like a few seconds throughout of that scroll where I lose faith in humanity. I'm like, yo, I'm driving next to these people. Like, these are the same like, you should not be allowed to operate a motor vehicle with a brain like that. If you believe, but then I realized, I'm like, you know what? That's where they belong. Blog
That's
on your
exactly
phone,
right.
off the
Exactly right.
road.
Hey,
You
did
know,
you see Trump is back on Twitter? did,
oh yeah,
did you
yeah,
see that?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
While you were in the shout out mood, I got to give a shout out
yep.
to John and everybody over at Edgewater Restaurant. I had an amazing dinner Saturday. It
Nice,
was so
nice.
good. It was so good. I burped home, and that tasted good. So it's just like, wow, that's odd
Well,
that it
look,
tastes good coming back up.
before we jump into the show, we got a dope guest with us tonight. There's something that I had the opportunity to participate in, and here in North Carolina, we have a very important attorney general's race going on right now. Our good friend Congressman Dan Bishop is running for attorney general, and today I had the opportunity to go out to Gaston County and spend some time with him at a listening tour that he's doing, listening to the victims of gun violence and crime in our community. And I just got to say, man, that is exactly what you want out of your attorney general, is somebody that's going to listen and that's going to be responsive and is willing to learn. I'm telling you, bro, we have to, as conservatives on our side of the aisle, we have to make sure that we're getting out, we're supporting people like Dan Bishop. I was just honored to be among them. I'm not going to front. There were some choke up moments when these people were talking about how their children, unfortunately got killed. A lot of choke up moments, but the resiliency and the strength in these people to fight on and want to see justice is done. So big up,
Yeah,
big
yep.
up to Dan Bishop.
So tonight's show, we got a guest.
Yeah.
And the question is liberty lost in America? And before we bring the guest on, I know you got an
Okay.
intro to do, right?
Yeah.
I
You
want y'all
kind of
to
did it.
I want you guys to realize that you're at liberty to think there's no liberty. Like, just let that marinate in that skull cap of yours for a second. You're at liberty to disagree with anything you hear tonight or agree with anything you hear tonight. All right, let's bring the guest on. Let's do it.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a very special guest, someone that I've gotten an opportunity to know over the last year and a half, 2 years, as I've been more involved here in Mecklenburg County. He is the executive director of the Coalition for Liberty. Our good friend Kevin Abplanalp is in the building for the first time on the Urban Conservative. What's good, Kev?
First of all, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Things are going well. The work we're doing with Coalition for Liberty has definitely picked up over the course of the last year. Do you want me to talk about that first, or
we're going to jump in and talk about Coalition for Liberty in a second. But for people that are watching or listening that may not be familiar with you and what the organization is, first off, where are you from? How did you get involved politically? Give us that backdrop about you real quick.
So I'm from a town in New Jersey called Cedar Knolls, Hanover Township. My father was one of those kind of low key behind the scenes folks in my town's politics, but I was doing election challenging when I was 18 years old. I turned 18. They made me go challenge at a poll. So my wife and I moved down here when we weren't married yet. We moved down here in Christmas 04. Wasn't really active down here for a few years, kind of figuring things out. 2012, I was teaching at UNCC in their psych department. I was taught there for 10 years till they figured out I was conservative and stopped giving me classes. That's a true story. The tolerant left.
Wow.
But 2012, I did grassroots coordination for Pat McCrory. So I met a wonderful lady named Nada Lorimore up in Wilkes County, did some work up there. Chris Emanuel down here was running the grassroots effort here. We actually delivered Mecklenburg County from McCrory by 1,000 votes, which was, I think, the last time conservative candidate basically won at large in Mecklenburg, so to speak. Over the course of the next few years, got more involved in local politics, routed volunteers towards Tom Tillis. Dan Bishop, I worked on his state Senate race in 2017, 2018. Helped John Powell when he was running for city council at large. Dan Forrest, county chair, 2016. I was precinct chair for Mecklenburg County, secretary for the 12th and the 9th, because they kept drawing me back and forth.
Right.
And I was one of the founding members of the Hornets Nest Republican Men's Club. I'm still secretary of that. My wife's really involved, as you know, Adul. She's president of Charlotte Mecklenburg Republican Women, entering their 71st year as a club. So I just want to definitely shout out to them. So COVID hits. My wife and I own a test prep company, Future Prep Educational Services. We do ACT, SAT preparation. COVID comes along in the middle of the testing cycle and just decimates us. We had, multiple classes, multiple locations. They canceled the SAT. So of course, everyone wants a refund and you try to give it to them, and then test optional for the next couple of years. So I went and got my project management, my PMP, and I got my Agile certification, figuring, because when you own your own business for 10 years and you try to get in the private sector, they look at you like you have 10 heads. So
right.
wanted to show at least, hey, I speak your language. And I got a little bit involved trying to start my own little political consulting shop here. I was working with a couple different candidates, and I ran into a guy named Doug Turpin on a Moms for Liberty thread. If you're not familiar with Doug Turpin, his family was impacted by cancel culture. Charlotte Latin, it started going crazy at that school with a lot of the woke stuff. The obscene books in the library. We're going to grade for equity, not merit. Like, what does that mean? And actually, him and some parents simply asked, what does that mean? And they targeted Doug's family to expel his kids to set an example so people stopped asking questions. They targeted the wrong guy. If you read Carolina Journal, Doug is suing Charlotte Latin over that happening. But he also recognized, what about the everyday folks that don't have his resources, that are impacted by cancel culture? The person who goes and speaks out their local library, and then now they have to worry about their job because someone's calling them a bigot on Facebook, or a white supremacist on Twitter, or a homophobe or a transphobe, or whatever else ist you want to throw on them because they said maybe there shouldn't be sexual material in the children's section. I mean, crazy. I can't even believe we're here as a society. So I bumped into him on a Moms for Liberty thread. Someone was saying, "Oh, it's terrible what happened to your kids." My first reaction, being from Jersey, what's this? What happened to this guy's kids? So I texted him. We got on the phone for about, I want to say it turned into a 3-hour phone call about how to save the country. And he had such a vision for Coalition for Liberty and some other things that we're working on with education. So I sent him my resume. I said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, and then he hired me to be the executive director. And it's been a wild ride for the last couple of years, and we're just picking up steam. So.
Excellent. So real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I want to throw this up on the screen real quick because I love the way that this is worded out. This is the Coalition for Liberty website. It's coalitionforliberty.com. Their mission, CFL, is filling a major hole in the battle against cancel culture that has been the most powerful weapon to advance the woke agenda, because when people have defamed everyday Americans or knowingly lied about them in order to destroy them financially, mentally, and emotionally, attempt to get them fired from their jobs or destroy their reputation, there's not been an organization that would go on offense to hold those responsible, personally accountable for their actions. And that, I think, sums up quite lovely what you guys are about. I know y'all have some major things going on that you're involved with, but I want to start here. How real, if for somebody who's on the inside of working and dealing with cancel culture, how real is this? And for somebody that may be watching or listening that doesn't think, they think that's just like a buzzword in the media, like, oh, cancel culture. How real is that, and how much does that impact everyday folks and what you're experiencing and seeing?
Well, one of our cases, it reached a settlement, so we were happy about that, and that's pretty much all I could say. But if you look at the media on it, the Tammy Weitzman case that's listed, she was a social worker at a major cancer hospital in Seattle, Jewish social worker, and she was in the mandatory DEI trainings, and basically told that because she could pass as white, she couldn't really speak to what it's like to be oppressed. I mean,
but you said she's Jewish.
Well, apparently that's a group that has never been oppressed, according to the people at this DEI training.
I guess they missed that book.
So there was some things involved with what they were told about how to approach conservatives, and she kind of objected to it. She, our job is to work with cancer patients, and there was she wound up losing her job. So we got involved there. The recent story that started, we filed the lawsuit at the end of June, where we were helping fund it. A woman named Julie Malk down in Georgia. So Julie went to speak at her local library. If you look at some of these books, up on honoraboveall.org, the website that Doug put up, they have pages out of a book called This Book is Gay, where there's stick figures engaging in sexual acts with each other. And so I don't know that I want that next to Dr. Seuss in a library, and everyone's, oh, you're banning books. When I was in middle school, there were a couple of Playboys in my library because I looked up the Dewey Decimal System at the time, right? But you had to go and fill out a request form to get them. I know because my friends and I tried.
Right.
Oh, there's the Jimmy Carter interview. I had the whole thing. I was writing a book report and everything. They didn't let me do it. They told me to have my parents come do it. And that's all she was saying, that something like this, if the parents really feel that the child needs to see this sort of thing, that, so she made the comment, LGBTQ plus, where in some spheres, they've been discussing extending the plus to pedophilia. And that's actually true. If you go online and look it up, there are a couple of professors that are talking about exactly MAPS, minor attracted people. And so a couple of these transgender activists that were there contacted her broker in Georgia and said that she had made the claim that all homosexuals are pedophiles. So basically just went right for that. Unfortunately for them, the transcript was out and it was recorded because it was a public sort of thing. So, you can't say somebody said something that they didn't say, especially when it's been recorded. But in Georgia, they have this thing. If you're a realtor, in order to be licensed, it's this kind of indirect proxy they use, kind of like Facebook with the First Amendment violations. A broker has to hold your license if you want to be a realtor. If you are not in the Georgia Association of Realtors, you can't use or you can't access MLS stuff. So if you're not in the Georgia Association of Realtors, you can't access MLS stuff. Brokers probably aren't going to hire you. So indirectly, so they reached out to the Georgia Association of Realtors and they reached out to her broker. Her broker cut ties with her, so she lost her job right away. Wow. The Georgia Association of Realtors put her through a whole song and dance trial sort of thing internally to where they were going to make her do some re-education sort of activities. We got an attorney to help her through the appeal of that. And so it went beyond this little local entity to the state entity, as it were. The guy that was over her initial hearing showed up to act as kind of a de facto prosecutor at the state hearing. And he made outlandish claims such as, okay, well, you do have the videotape of it, but facts don't matter because someone's feelings were hurt. So I guess we're moving into a place in America where evidence won't matter in a trial if you were guilty of wrongthink. I mean, and he also made the claim that he believed pedophiles were a protected class. Now, the attorney that we had.
Wait. Really?
Yeah, you could. Yeah. They said that on the, I was about to sip water. I shouldn't. They said that on the, you could hear the intake of oxygen in the room, even from the people sitting on the board. And of course, the attorney we had is a former federal prosecutor, Jonathan Vogel. He's an attorney here in Charlotte, a great guy. Right away, he's like, no, it's actually a crime. It's a criminal act. But that's what we're up against. So she did in fact lose her job. And they put these false claims about her in writing. So she now is suing them for slander and defamation. So, what? I mean, and I've heard other things. I mean, we ran into a case. We were able to help get it averted. There was a teacher in Indiana where they told the teacher that she was either going to use first or second graders' preferred pronouns or she'd be fired. So compelled speech. She, of course, as a Christian, said that went against her belief of God made them one man, one woman. And was not going to go along with it. One of the things we do in addition to helping victims of cancel culture is we're working to help grassroots groups and groups in the liberty movement be more effective. So on our website, there's a liberty directory, which I'll talk about in a little bit if you want to. But the predecessor to that was an internal spreadsheet that I kind of put together of over 1,000 groups. And I reached out to 20 of these larger legal nonprofits and indicated we had a woman that was probably about to be fired from her job as a public school teacher due to religious objections. And I mean, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, Beckett, Pacific Legal, Alliance Defending Freedom, Liberty Council. There's about 7 or 8 groups that hopped in and said, we're gonna take this case if it goes that far. I reached out to her. She let it leak to people she knew. So when she went in for the meeting, it was, see, what happened was we're not going to put any pronoun kids in your class. There was a complete misunderstanding. No one's getting fired. They backpedaled right away. So we've had a number of cases like that where we've been able to avert it, kind of preemptively.
Well, right I want to ask this one thing because we find that a lot of times when we have conversations about these things that we're defining things differently. There's a lot of arguing or back and forth that's usually had because of a misunderstanding of terms, right? Mm-hmm. So from you guys' position, when we talk about liberty, what do you mean liberty? Right? Coalition for Liberty. So defined by you guys, from your perspective, what are we talking about liberty?
Well, with cancel culture, we're definitely talking about the First Amendment. We're talking about the freedom of expression, freedom to engage in the social conversation with other Americans without fear that if you took the wrong side on an issue, you'd get targeted, right? I mean, it's almost like politics, it sometimes strikes me as almost like we're arguing about sports teams when it's done with folks that maybe see things differently, but we can agree to disagree. We understand at the end of the day, we're all Americans. Having taught at UNCC, I had a number of old school liberal friends, as I'll call them, the kind of professors that we had where, they would defend your right. They would disagree with what you said, but they defended to the death your right to say it.
Right.
And I actually have a really good friend that was a professor for years. He's almost like my parents' age, late mid-70s. And when all this stuff was going crazy over the last few years, he was shaking his head. He goes, well, they weren't supposed to hate the country. And my answer to him is like, well, you guys were teaching them Marxism. What did you expect but we should pull together. It's understandably. And they make some points. I mean, I debate with Democrats when I volunteer at the polls to help out candidates that I believe in personally. And I find with education, a lot of times when I'm talking to someone that's not a Marxist, that's not insanely woke, we'll put it, but they're just maybe to the left, I find that we agree on the goals. And I usually boil it down to they think government's the solution and I don't. So when I'm dealing with sane individuals, I mean,
right.
So
Right. Have you seen more of this? Because I have here in New York. I've seen a lot more, and I guess the way I want to say it is entitlement to like this you mentioned somebody's feelings being hurt outweighing facts. Someone said that. And I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. I come from the thought that you have to earn your opinion, right? Like, okay, you do, I don't know, you're a mechanic and you say, yo, I think this is wrong with the car. And I say, well, I don't think it is because I feel like it's the carburetor. And it's like, well, have you ever worked on a car? No.
Right.
Have you ever even driven a car? No. So I haven't earned that opinion. Am I off with that? Like the way I'm thinking about that?
It's fair.
All right, cool. I just thought that maybe I'm getting old and I'm like being mean. I'm like, who entitled you to an opinion?
Well, real quick, ladies and gentlemen,
but whatever. Go ahead,
ladies and gentlemen, we're right around the 21-minute mark. We are talking with our good friend Kevin Abplanalp, who is the executive director of the Coalition for Liberty. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. On the backside of this, we're going to talk about the Liberty Directory and maybe a lightning round. Y'all don't go nowhere on the Urban Conservative Podcast.
I'm just a working class American and family man running for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm taking on the radical left and the Democrat machine, and I need your help. Visit AliForCongress.com and make a contribution, and together we can take our country back. Thank you.
Conservative is brought to you by the Queen City Insurance Group. If you need help with Medicare or life insurance, call Kimberly Marshall at 704-559-9279. The Queen City Insurance Group, treating you like royalty. All right, folks, you're back. It's Monday night. We're on the Urban Conservative talking about is liberty still alive in our country?
Kev, do the hand raise. What you got, Kev?
I just because I was thinking, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we're a nonpartisan group. When I've talked about the Republican sphere, that's me personally. And
good catch.
And in fact, I mean, there are Democrats that Joel Ford was a huge advocate of school choice. Tricia Cotham here in Charlotte she had to switch parties because they went crazy on her. Her mother, Pat, was a great county commissioner. Unfortunately, we don't have her anymore. So,
I told you, I was telling my brother about that. He was like, wait, what? I said, yeah, because the daughter switched parties, they went after a great county commissioner. And I mean, she wasn't, at least in my opinion, she wasn't an extremist. She was one of those old school Democrats, like those old school.
Shouts out to former Senator Ford. He's a good guy. He's been on the platform too.
Yeah, he was one of our very first guests because we were trying to figure out the whole sides and things like that. But to move forward, you had mentioned that Coalition for Liberty has something called the Liberty, what'd you call it? The Liberty Index here? The Liberty Directory. I got it pulled up. I had no idea there was this many folks out here. You want to tell the folks what this Liberty Directory is all about?
And I have another 20 or 30 on deck, and we're open to people submitting suggestions. It is a relational database of all the groups that we're able to identify that are kind of in the liberty movement, advocating for free markets, limited government. But the main thrust of it, of course, would be individual liberties. When you have limited government, you have individual liberty. And so it's in there. You can search by focus area. the sorts of things that the group does. And the goal of it is to kind of make people more aware of who else is in the movement with them. Because one of the things we wanted to do is help out grassroots organizations, local grassroots groups. And when I went through in 2022 trying to put this together, then we ran into we got some folks behind it with some funding and put it up in the format that you see there. And one of the things I had to do was we took the spreadsheet and put it into the Airtable, and I had to go back and apply all the meta tags, or what we're calling the focus areas there. And as I was doing that, there was about 150 groups that just were gone. Like one or two large foundations that had sunsetted out, one or two big ones that maybe had merged, like when Civitas joined Locke, right? But there were a number of your smaller groups that just were gone. And then you wonder why, right? You see people getting canceled. You could see folks that there's a group of parents defending education in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, that was doing stuff with the libraries. When they went to speak out up there, they bust in about 80 to 100 of these really violent activists that were harassing them, threatening them. And we actually had them put our logo on the website to let them know that we were watching. And if they stepped out of line to the point where we could identify somebody making an actionable statement, we would sue them. And things quieted down after that. But imagine your 4 or 5 parents maybe getting together, concerned about your local library, concerned about something with your school. And then all of a sudden you just get harassed like that. It's like your business. Like, I didn't sign up for this. And then you don't know that there's someone out there like a Coalition for Liberty to defend you. Or you get all in and go after a school board race and lose and came close. What if you'd known there was Leadership Institute to help you manage that campaign? Or maybe you get a legislator's ear, like you guys were talking about before, to try to push a piece of legislation. And as you know, when you get a hold of them, it's like a 5-year process. They got a year or two just to get the bill drafted. Then you got to push it through, and it's just delay. Well, Heritage, Locke, for example, a number of the State Policy Network affiliates, they all have model legislation pre-drafted. And if you're aware of that, then you could take that, give it to your legislator friend, and cut 2 years off of the, jump the line a little bit. And then when they have the pedigree of that group on the legislation, other folks in the legislature will take it seriously, and maybe you speed up the process and not get disillusioned.
Nice.
So I wondered how many of those groups fizzled out because they weren't aware of the resources. And I always use the metaphor of, like, anytime a grassroots group jumps up, they're like a little platoon. They're trying to advance the ball in a direction. They're trying to fight the good fight and they're not aware they have artillery, air support, all sorts of other platoons. They're not aware that there is a larger movement that they can draw in. And vice versa, you have groups like Heritage that have all sorts of resources that they're directed to, and their donors want them to provide to these local groups. And if they can't find the groups to help, so part of the Liberty Directory is to, for folks to be able to just network, but also to help groups find resources and help the groups that have the resources find the groups that need them. So it's an ongoing process. And as I said, I got about 20 groups on deck right now that I have to add that I've identified.
So I have to say this. I'm saying it. So for all y'all that, that get upset about whatever you get upset about, get your panties in a bunch. I'm going to say it. I think those people that pick on those other people are the people who never got beat up on the playground. And they're like, I just my thought, like, it's like, y'all gotta get vengeance from middle school, from the figuring out the pecking order. So now it's like, she said something I don't like, cancel, and then, like, get this person fired. I just personally think those are the kids that never got beat up. Those are the kids that couldn't handle getting picked on. And then they, 20 years later, they're these monsters that are
the mega
thinking,
Karens of the world.
Yeah, they're like, all right. So somebody does something or says something on social media, and you take time out of your life to go and try to ruin that person's life, doesn't say much about you. I just think those are like some of the worst traits in our country. Like, I think that's like one of the, if I had to call it a drawback of liberty, it's like one of the, on the downside of it. The other side, like, yeah, so that means y'all free to espouse your stupidity as well. And then we gotta,
real
like,
quick, before we jump to the lightning round, there was something interesting you told me about, Kevin, which was
the replacement of people in an ad or something like that. They used the protesters. Remember, it was something y'all were working on. I didn't tell my brother about this, so I want to see his face when you know. Oh
Okay,
my
so
goodness.
it's kind of indirect. So in Union County, a town called Monroe, there's a restaurant called. Well, I'm not going to promote it. There's a restaurant there that was doing these drag brunches, all ages. Bring your kids along to watch this on stage. And I mean, to me, that's like bringing your kid to a strip bar or a Hooters. And when people are saying, well, if you pass that kind of legislation, fine, don't bring your kids to Hooters, right? So anyway, there were people that were protesting this being done in their community, and just not having don't open it to children. We don't want that. And so this restaurant took pictures. The protesters have put pictures of themselves online. Like, here we were at this thing holding our signs up. So they get in and Photoshop the signs. And some of it initially is to kind of mock them a little bit, like, I'm with stupid, or this is why I don't have a job. Like, just really just picking on them. And to your point, there's some First Amendment with that. First Amendment issues with that. But then they also Photoshop some of the pictures to say, we love this place, we love their brisket. And they used the pictures in online and Facebook ad promotions. And then some of the folks hopped in the thread where the promotion was happening and said, you don't have my permission to use my image for this. And then they mocked them and laughed and said, haha, keep commenting, it helps our algorithm. Well, apparently, if you use someone's image without their permission for financial purposes, and I may be wording this wrong, I'm not an attorney, there's something called the Lanham Act that covers that you're not allowed to do that. And especially after they tell you to stop. So there's an attorney now that is suing this restaurant on behalf of the people that were used in the promotions. And apparently they're having trouble raising money from the normal sources that would jump to the defense, because they tried to lead that they were being targeted for doing the drag brunches and that it was all ideological. And then somebody digs a little deeper and looks and says, no, actually you violated federal intellectual property law. So yeah. That's
right. I knew you were gonna have that look on your face. Wow. I hadn't told him about that. I was waiting for the night for you to share that with him. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Kevin Abplanalp, who is the executive director of the Coalition for Liberty. We've been talking about the question, is liberty dead in America, and the role of the Coalition for Liberty. At this point, sir, there is, for each and every first-time guest on the Urban Conservative, a lightning round that Raheem has been putting together for you. The prize at the end of this lightning round is you will get the screen all big and you can tell people how to support you and the Liberty Coalition. So you're going to earn your plug at the end of this lightning round that starts right now.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
All right. MTV or VH1?
Oh, MTV back in the day, but VH1.
No, that's just we're in a very specific zone here. Friends or Seinfeld?
Ooh, Seinfeld. I don't like Friends.
My man. Pac-Man or Donkey Kong?
Pac-Man.
Easy one. The Breakfast Club or Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Ooh, Breakfast Club, but it's close.
That is close. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Nirvana.
All right, I'll take it.
Good answer.
Grunge or hip hop?
Oh, 90s hip hop, not now. So grunge over what hip hop turned into now. But
that's your answer. I got no input.
Great answer.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Full House?
Oh, Fresh Prince.
Okay, all right. All right, this is Ali. I know you're going. This is a tough one. I know. I want you to answer this one too, Ali. MacGyver or Knight Rider?
Oh, Knight Rider.
What? How is that even a question? What? You should have just said Knight Rider or Knight Riders, which you should have said. Okay.
Knight Rider or Airwolf. That would be an
Airwolf. I have Airwolf on the screen. I figured that. Whatever. All right. The X-Files or Twin Peaks?
I didn't really watch either, but I would say X-Files.
Okay. I got three more for you. Saved by the Bell or 90210?
Okay, I would say Saved by the Bell. I would say Saved by the Bell. We watched that in college.
All right. G.I. Joe or Transformers?
Ooh, G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe.
Okay. Now I got to ask this other one. AOL Instant Messenger or ICQ?
Oh, AOL.
All right. Last but not least, Jurassic Park or Titanic?
Jurassic Park.
Better movie. I love it. All right, you've passed the lightning round. I'm gonna make the screen big. You have 30 seconds to plug away. Tell the people how they can support the Coalition for Liberty. The floor is yours.
You can go to coalitionforliberty.com to support us in our work. Our long-term goal is to not have 1 million lawsuits, but to file maybe 6 or 7 high-profile lawsuits. So then people will know that there's a deterrent out there, and we can just call folks up and get them to backtrack, issue public apologies, and basically create a situation where Americans once again feel free to debate in the public square without fear of losing their job.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the site on your screen. No, you don't. You do now. Ladies and gentlemen, that website is coalitionforliberty.com. We have been kicking it with the executive director of the Coalition for Liberty, Kevin Abplanalp. Again, coalitionforliberty.com. I know you mentioned them before, bro, but I gotta give a massive shout out to Moms for Liberty. Great group of people, fantastic folks. I was with Annette Albright earlier today. I'll be with Brooke and the team on Saturday for the back to school drive that they're doing. So I'm glad to know that they're a part of what you're doing. And
we've been at their summit. We've been at their summit, their annual summit every year since the inception.
Dope. Well, I just got to tell you, and I know I can speak for my brother on this. We appreciate what you're doing. We're thankful that you decided to take 40 minutes out of your day and your life to spend time with us here on the Urban Conservative. We hope to have you back as you get more high-profile cases and all that good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been kicking it, talking about the Coalition for Liberty here on the Urban Conservative. As always, make sure you give us a like, share, follow, subscribe. If we are not somewhere that you listen to podcasts, let us know so that we can be wherever you like to listen. For that guy over there, my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, I'm Abdul Ali. That's Kevin down there at the bottom. This is the Urban Conservative Podcast. Peace and love, y'all.
And I'm running for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte as a Republican this November. We know that the Democrat machine controls Charlotte, but a common sense Republican like me can win if we can get our message out to the voters. If you're like me and fed up with deep state career politicians like Alma Adams and Joe Biden, help me send a message that their time is up. I've done something by running for Congress. Now I need you to do something. Visit aliforcongress.com. Make a contribution. Together, we can make America better. Thank you.
Doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more about